So,
as I said, it's not a snore and tell.
Remembering stuff is part of your day job as an actor. You've got to learn and remember lines. I guess some of that is short-term memory. You know, you learn it, perform it, and then you're on to the next thing, particularly when you're on something like EastEnders. But is there much crossover, do you think, between that sort of learning and recall skill that you have as an actor and quizzing?
I wanted to think so, because I thought, well, I'm bound to be up on other people, because I've spent, the last 25 years at least, learning things, particularly in EastEnders, very quickly, and then discarding them. Now, this is the point I'm making. What you do all the time in acting, you learn things and you discard them. They're gone. I know a few freaks, and they're friends of mine, I won't know their names in acting, who can remember lines from, you know what I mean? Stuff I did years ago, bizarrely. And I suppose if you're doing the classics, if you've played Hamlet, you've got every reason to keep it in your head. If you're just doing, get out of my pub now, maybe you don't want it lurking in there. You know what I mean? This is why people like, I'm sorry I keep going back to Kevin, but as you know, he's a legend. He turns 60. This is why people like, this is the age when, and other quizzes who were there, people like Colin, this is the age when things are supposed to be going out the other side. And this is even more remarkable, how these people are keeping it in, and still ending up very high. They should really examine their brains. I mean, I'll give an example. I'll put you on the spot now, because I learned something, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago. I'm probably like you. I get very inquisitive. We all, otherwise we wouldn't do it. Forest Green.
Oh, yes.
He's got promoted.
Yeah.
Well, there isn't a town called Forest Green. I'll look up where they come from. Hang on a sec. I looked them up. I thought, yeah, I know that now. Last week in the paper, where are Forest Green from? Couldn't remember. It's not, isn't it?
I mean, what I do know about Forest Green is they're vegan, which is really one reason why I'll never go there.
But the point I'm making is, I learned this 6 weeks ago, and last week I'd forgotten it.
Yeah, and sometimes I guess that is one of the differences between quizzing and acting, is if you try and learn a quiz fact, you never know when you're going to need it. Whereas with acting, you know when you're going to have to recall it. I suppose the only the only time that's not the case is something like Mastermind, when you know you're learning a specialist subject to be able to deliver it on a day, and that is more short-term memory, I think. And you did that really well when you were on Celebrity Mastermind. You did Richard Burton, didn't you? And you got all of your questions correct. So that was good learning, good prep.
Yeah, I've always been obsessed by Burton. I don't even know why. I think I, more than his acting, which was great, I was more in love with his story, that he was like from a penniless, whatever, what's the word, poverty-stricken Welsh mining village. His dad was a drunkard, didn't really, not my dad was, and he fought his way out of that with the help of luck and a wonderful man called Richard Philip Burton. But I thought, I'm going to be Richard Burton. The irony is I became Barry from EastEnders. But the moral is, if you don't aim that high, you don't finish there. You understand? So aim high. But so I was always a bit obsessed by his story, and he married Elizabeth Taylor and all the diamonds and all this sort of thing. So when it came to Mastermind, it was only the second one ever. I think Charlie Higson was the winner of the first ever Mastermind. I think it was James Bond, actually, because ironically he went on to write the novels of a young James Bond. And I think I was only ever the second one. There was me, Jeremy Bowen, the war correspondent, Anthony Warren-Thompson, and David Blunkett. So I brushed up on Burton to a ridiculous degree. Like, they asked me what the name of his yacht was. I knew the name of the yacht was when he bought it, before he changed it. So we all do that on Mastermind, don't we? Go a bit deeper than we.
Yeah, you do have to. Yeah.
Because it was Celebrity Mastermind, I'll say it out loud, it's not as tough as the real one. You only have to win one heat, and the questions aren't as tough. I know it for a fact, because I don't want anyone looking stupid and getting 0 or 2 points. But anyway, so I've got 17 out of 17 on Burton, and I think they allowed more time then. I don't think anyone gets. I think they brought the time back, haven't they? No one gets 17 now. I think
the questions are certainly longer nowadays.
You used to get 2 minutes, now you get 90 seconds. So anyway, but it put me in a good place. And Jeremy Bowen was very strong, and I think I edged him out on the general knowledge. Anthony Warren-Thompson ended up, I didn't know, was a godson of Burton. maybe that was a lucky omen because his dad was at the RSC in the 50s, and David Blunkett picked Harry Potter and got 5. He was a lovely man.
Would you ever consider doing the civilian version of Mastermind, putting yourself up against other quizzes?
Yeah. I've applied.
You have? Oh,
I've done it. Just waiting now. This was before lockdown, though, so I'm not sure what's happened. But they probably think I'm arrogant because it was like, well, send us a picture of you, and I did it with my 4 pointless trophies. I think they're going to think, no, just go away, you big head.
What would your subjects be?
I entered them. It was heavyweight boxing from basically John L. Sullivan to 1980, because that's when it all fractured into WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO. I won't go on. It's a real passion of mine. George Orwell, the Beatles. But I wanted to get away from, everyone picked the Beatles, and so I wanted to get away. It was boxing, George Orwell. There was another one that would make me look very intelligent. I think it was like American Presidents or something, So I gave them a big smattering of things, Oh,
well, we'll keep fingers crossed that we'll see you.
I've heard, sorry to interrupt, Ian Bailey told me American Presidents was probably a mistake because it's this thing where he picked pictures in the National Gallery, so at least you can focus.
I think he did 19th century American presidents, so that at least gave it the parameters. But I do think a good tactic for Mastermind is to find a subject with defined parameters, so you know when you've covered it all.
I agree.
Pictures in the National Gallery, if they're on display, they're on display. If they're not going to be asked about. And that was a good subject of his, because he could go around and literally visualize and then read up the background and go back many times. That was a really good subject for him to pick.
I tried to be a little bit, clever, rather than just picking, you know what I mean, the Beatles or Fireman Sam, or you know.
Yeah, and I think there's a natural tendency for the sniggerati, if they saw you on there, to go, oh, he's just going, that he's getting an easy ride because he's a celebrity or whatever, and it must be important to you to do it straight up and seriously.
Yeah.
Which you're entirely capable of, having seen you on Quizmaster, that very, very long day. But
Clockwork Orange, Gareth, I'll never forgive you. I will, but I'm only joking.
Oh, well, I was just glad to get in. There was a period where I thought I'm never going to get in on the buzzer. It was wild.
It was so topsy-turvy, a topsy-turvy day. I mean, it didn't look like Kevin was going to get through for a while.
No.
It was just mad.
But it was quite a fierce competition.
It was a hell of a night.
It really was. I mean, one of the things that I really appreciate not being in the book is the period I spent resting my eyes in the bar afterwards. I was told that I spent some time snoring away, but it was about 3 a.m. by the time we left the bar. So,
as I said, it's not a snore and tell.
Just as well. I've just outed myself, but yeah. But no, that was a good night. I think that time after the filming in the bar was great, and it's interesting. You mentioned in the book about the day that Dave Rainford died, but we had that.
It was the only time I ever met Dave.
Yeah.
It was the only time I ever met Dave Rainford, was in the bar after that, and he was a lovely, lovely, lovely man. And then it was so shattering for them to announce his death in at the Grand Prix in March. It was terrible.
It was lovely guy, but it was him on top form that night. It was really good night, and that's probably my fondest memory of that whole day is that time in the bar. It was just good, good fun.
I mean, was Dave a reserve, or was it just because he
just came to watch? He just came.
Sums it up.
Yeah,
it sums the man up, because let's face it, most of us would be, I'm not going because I'll be jealous because I just want to get on. Be honest. It sums the man up. Yeah, he was a wonderful spirit.
Yeah, he liked quizzing and he liked quizzers. And
he liked people. He
was a real people person. Blimey, he would chat to anybody and just treat you like a long lost friend. The first time he met you, he was one of a kind. Thanks for watching this video on all things quiz. If you enjoyed it, please click the like button, and if you really enjoyed it and want to see more like this, then click subscribe. And to the left, you can see some other videos you might enjoy.